There are so many songs I could sing for this intro that my brain is kind of fried. So, we're just gonna jump right in. Hey, Ben here once again, and I've got my Hogwarts shirt on, and obviously that means Harry Potter's gonna be in this stack. And why don't we start off with that? These are the top 10 books or series I think you should read or I have enjoyed reading in the past. This is not inclusive by any means. I'm sure there's stuff in my shelf at home, in my shelf, on my shelf, at home, back in the States that should be in this video, but I don't have it here and I've forgotten about it. Which is not to say it's not memorable, but it's just these were at hand, so one in the hand is two in the bush, worth two in the bush, so there you go. Boom! We're going to start off with Harry Potter because I am wearing the shirt. Maybe that's the jingle I should have gone with. Do, 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 do. There you go. We got some jingle action going here. But Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, or if you're in the UK, the Philosopher's Stone. This was a fun read, a great read, a quick read. So honestly, if you have the choice between reading the book and watching the movie, I recommend watching the movie. Not only because the book is almost always better than the movie and more detailed and you can use your own imagination, but because in a 24-hour period, if you're sleeping for 8 hours, I can still read this in 24 hours. Well, probably less if I, go hardcore. But, and the movie takes about 2 hours to watch. So, if you have a day where you're going to watch a Harry Potter movie or read the first novel, just read the first novel. But it's great. You're introduced to all of the characters in the wizarding world. And yeah, I mean, it's the start to a great series, 1997. J.K. Rowling right there. And yes, I know she's had some questionable tweets recently, but we're just going to ignore those and focus on the work here. And that's the first book or book series. I could have grabbed more of them. I think I have everyone here with the exception of Prisoner of Azkaban in some form or other and in various languages. But so there you go. Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. Get on it. Doggone it. Next up, in no particular order until like later on, we've got George Orwell 1984. Now this is probably one of many printings. In fact, we can find that out probably. Copyright 1949 for the original edition, and this was 1989. Wow, okay, so that's not too, well, I mean, it is a long time ago, but I'm not seeing which edition this reprinted in Penguin Classics. Yep, Penguin Classics. Hey, 2000. Okay, there we go. So this might be the 18th edition, maybe more. And I just realized, yeah, Penguin Modern Classics. We just talked about Penguin for Shakespeare. There we go. But yeah, this was an interesting read. It was one of my visa renewal reads. So I was sitting there in the government office thinking, yeah, well, this could be the future of government, and in many ways it is the present of society. So there you go, 1984, a must read for everyone. Not to make anyone cynical or mean or sarcastic or anything like that. Shout out to Professor Lammy. Next up, something a little bit more fun and up your science fiction alley is Star Wars Darth Bane, Path of Destruction. Now, this is set 1,000 years before the original series or the movies themselves. And regardless of what Disney says, this is a story. It's not legends or canon or whatever. Just why don't they just have one universe? Keep it simple. But Darth Bane, the first of the new Sith, he... Spoiler alert? Not really, because, I mean, it's in all the movies and stuff. But he takes the stuff from Knights of the Old Republic, KOTOR, great games, where there's a bunch of Sith and a bunch of fighting, and he kills them all. And then he creates the rule of two. One master, one apprentice, and this is that story, and it's freaking awesome. Great read. I mean, obviously it's not as legendary as some of the books that I'm going to talk about today in this video, but I really enjoyed it, and it's a great addition or a great part of the Star Wars universe. So, if you like Star Wars and you haven't read that, you definitely should. Herbert. Next up is one I actually haven't read. Yes, I know I'm gonna get crap in the comments for that, but Dune, Frank Herbert. Oh, sorry, Drew Karpyshyn, I think, wrote Path of Destruction there. Frank Herbert, Dune, classic science fiction. Actually, yeah, I got this and was supposed to read it before the last movie, which I haven't seen, and I don't think I've seen the first movie in its entirety, but, I mean, they always say they can't do it justice anyway, so read the book, and that's what I intend to do all afterward. It's 883 pages. Wow! Okay, so yeah, that is a massive book there, at least 2 inches. That's around 5 centimeters, boom. But, yeah. Science fiction supreme masterpiece. There you go. It says it on the cover. Of course, they want to sell books. You got Chicago Tribune here. Arthur C. Clarke. Wow. Yeah. Unique. I know nothing comparable to it except for something else in this stack, which we'll get to pretty soon. Okay, so moving on, we got we got a few left. Okay, the next series, or the first series, the first book in the next series we've got is The Passage by Justin Cronin, and this is a great vampire-like story. Of course, this says he's the author of The 12. The 12, the second book in the series, which is the next one I need to read. That one I have read. Says it's the internationally best-selling author of The Passage. So, yeah, that threw me when I was collecting these. But I know The Passage is first. This is the sequel. And then the third in the series is The City of Mirrors. And, oh well, it's got a sticker on it, which I don't know if I would want to get rid of, because this one actually should be signed. And yeah, my mother picked that up. Oh yeah, you can tell it's real because you can see the ink bleeding through on the next page. So that is awesome. And hardcovers are awesome. I used to prefer paperbacks, and now I kind of like both, but I want them to be uniform. So the fact that these two are paperback and this one isn't, of course they're heavier and larger. You know, I'm not going to complain about what I got, but obviously I would prefer they be uniform. Like the best hits or greatest hits or whatever for the games. It's like you're going along and then you see this green thing on the PlayStation or this red thing on PS3 and it's like, ugh, gross. But what can you do, right? Anyway, we're supposed to be talking about books, not games. But yeah, The Passage was a great story. Very fast-paced, very intriguing, as you know, a lot of these are. This story, I mean, I can't. It's been a while since I read it, so I haven't refreshed myself. But yeah, you're in a post-apocalyptic world, and it's kind of like Fallout, actually. If you want to compare it to video games, Fallout 3, you've got this community. and they're working together, and the vampire monsters or whatever are on the outside, and everything goes to heck after that. So, Passage, Justin Cronin, The 12, and The City of Mirrors. Check them out if you have time. Okay, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, I think 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Did I miscount something, or did I just throw a bonus book in? Well, whatever. Either way, next up, what is interesting, this is Origin, and you can see I've got some bookmarks in there, although I have finished reading it. This, and, well, it doesn't answer the question because it's science fiction, but what would happen if there were other planets similar to our own, and then the hole opened up, and you found all sorts of evolutions of ourselves, or monkeys, chimpanzees, gorillas, and stuff like that. And I'm not talking Planet of the Apes, but different evolutions. So this was a really interesting story. I'm not going to tell you the plot, but Origin, boom, by Stephen Baxter. Yeah, where time and space converge. And very, very interesting. Check it out. Love me some science fiction. There aren't going to be too many books here that aren't science fiction or another genre, which I'm sure you can predict. But yeah, so okay, and then this book is very special to me. We've got The Draco Tavern by Larry Niven, and this taught me that, well, one, there are other science fiction authors out there that you don't need to stay in the Star Trek or Star Wars universe, but and also that you don't have to travel to have good science fiction, because it's all set in this tavern or bar, and aliens come to the bar and they just tell their stories and adventures, and that's what this is about. So, I mean, bartenders have all sorts of great stories they can tell, and they meet all sorts of great people. So imagine taking that, putting that in science fiction form, and yeah, then reading about it. This was a great book. I think it was one of Mom's pickups when she came over one time. I think she got it at the airport, and she left it with me to read, and there you have it. So definitely check out The Draco Tavern if you have a chance. What's next? Oh my god, yes. Okay, so I actually don't have the sequel yet. I'm so bad, but if you are a gamer, which I am, Ready Player One is the book. I know Zuckerberg thinks he's creating the metaverse with Meta, and there's all this talk right now about companies, oh, we gotta create the metaverse. We gotta create this massive game that's bigger than all games. But Ernest Cline in, hold on, let me get the date. Where's the pub? There we go. In 2011, there we go, 2011. He was ahead of all of it. And, well, Wade was, yeah, main character. No, who, oh, come on. So, yeah, Galaga Asteroids. Halliday, yes. Halliday created this world, this VR world where you can go anywhere and create the Oasis. James Halliday, there he goes. And just fantastic. You want to talk about why I don't like VR? It's because it's not on this level. And although we're getting closer, we have VR, we have haptic feedback in the PS5 controller now and HD Rumble in the Joy-Cons. But yeah, this story is amazing. I couldn't put this down. I think I read it over the course of a couple days. Well into the night, 3 a.m. sometimes. But Ready Player One is a must-read for science fiction fans, 80s kids, 80s lovers, video game lovers, movies, and it's much better than the movie that actually came out. It's much more in-depth. There's no copyright infringement where you had to stick to the studios that you were limited to because you were the studio making the movie and didn't want to pay royalties out to other companies. This is the real version, so read it, read the book. Like I said, almost always, 99.9% of the time, the book is better than the movie. Boom. Get off my soapbox. Okay, next up. Obviously I haven't read it. I haven't even taken out of the cellophane wrapper, but you can see 105 yen. Look at that for the Japanese copy, and they have up and down, so it's divided into two halves. Because I guess a regular size book is too big. But this is Jurassic Park by Michael Crichton, one of my favorite authors of all time, and that's why it's placed number 3 in the stack. So yes, Jurassic Park, like we said, better than the movie, a great read, more dinosaurs than the movie, the events are better than the movie, but yes, this was a fantastic read in high school. I think I was in 9th or 10th grade. I read it right before the movie came out, so I think it had, yeah, 9th or 10th grade. Because I wanted to read it before I saw the movie, and then I saw the movie, and it wasn't disappointing, except for the fact that a certain character gets his due in the book and doesn't in the movie. But yeah, nah, it just wasn't epic on the scale of epic like the book. And yeah, obviously I haven't read it in Japanese, but then, you know, Hollywood machine got to make movies. They came out with The Lost World, and I think that's why, in response, he wrote The Lost World, and I didn't think it was nearly as good as the original. And then there was Jurassic Park 3, which I don't even know if there was a book for that. But yeah, that totally went off the rails. Not to mention Jurassic World, which was pretty good, although it followed much of the same beats like Star Wars Force Awakens did. And then a couple more movies I'm forgetting. And they're also good. And hey, Chris Pratt, you know. Especially that Parks and Rec meme, am I right? But yeah, Jurassic Park, Michael Crichton. If you want something, well, I got tons of his books, but also very, 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 very good is Dragon Teeth. This is not part of the top 10, by the way. But Michael Crichton here, they're going out to the wild, wild west and digging up bones in archaeology and making dinosaurs, dragon teeth. So you got a picture of a T-Rex here, but this is a very good read. I think it's the last book they got from his manuscripts, so obviously it was a posthumous work. Like Pirate Latitudes, I probably could have grabbed that for the video as well. But that was a great book. Yeah, so there you go. You got the old school railroads here. Yeah, railroads and dinosaur fossils. It's just a great read. Very quick. Highly recommended, Dragon Teeth. Of course, it's not Jurassic Park, but hey, if you want to explore the Crichton world, I think in the previous video I mentioned Andromeda Strain. Sphere was good. Rising Sun was interesting, even though I wasn't allowed to read it, and I did. But, yeah. Okay, so you can probably see this stack of 5 books here. Number 2. Well, I guess it's, yeah, the best books of all time, or at least that I chose for this video. We chose George R.R. Martin, A Game of Thrones, which I'm still waiting on book 6, but much better than the ending to the HBO series, and they diverge quite a bit, which is a problem for most of the readers of the book. But yeah, I was introduced by one of my coworkers in 2010, I think, and this saved me from many an hour of boredom on the train, going to work, waking up early. And yeah, you've got Game of Thrones, A Game of Thrones, and then, because this is a Song of Ice and Fire, not just a Game of Thrones, you got a Clash of Kings. So there you go. There's your rationale for being able to like both universes, because you got a Game of Thrones, which is the TV series, and then you got a Song of Ice and Fire, which is the book series. So I guess if the endings are vastly different, then you know, it doesn't really matter that much, does it? You can be a fan of both or not. But I do think it's kind of testing the waters for if and when the 7th and final book actually gets released. He may change the ending based off of the response to the HBO series. That's just speculation. Anyway, Clash of Kings is book 2. Book 3, A Storm of Swords. And this is where you get the Red Wedding. And man, was I pissed off when I read that. Then you got A Feast for Crows, and you get into the Kraken House. What is that? Oh boy. I forgot what they're called. Wait, is there listed chapters or not so much? Prologue, no, they just jump right in. Ah, oh, come on, we do not sow or sow. You know, Reek, his house, which is what Greyjoys. Thank you. The Greyjoys feature in this quite a bit. Basically, like, there was the story, and there was also the side stories that were going on that were going to be incorporated into the main story, so he had to put this in there to have it all work. And that sort of continues for part of A Dance with Dragons, the 5th and most recent one, because Winds of Winter is never going to come out, despite being rumored to have been finished or due out for at least the last 5 years. Going on 10 now, actually. But yeah, A Dance with Dragons is the 5th one there. And yeah, this even says a new original series from HBO. Not really. It was the book first. But anyway, so much detail in each of these books. You have to reread the books, just, you know, absorb everything. I have read A Game of Thrones twice. Next up is A Clash of Kings. But obviously I couldn't include that in the 10 books I'm reading now or about to read, because it belongs in this video. And yeah, so if you have time to sit down and enjoy 5 massive novels, I think the first one is close to 800 pages. There's a preview of Clash of Kings, which obviously... Okay, yeah, the appendix goes all the way to 835. And with books like this, you'll want to read the appendix. Or appendices, because there's multiple books. Clash of Kings has got to be similar. Acknowledgements are there. 1009. Woo! But it talks about all the houses at the end, so very interesting read. That last page was the Night's Watch. What? I ripped a page and taped it up? I don't remember any of that. Cersei. Okay, yes, part of the pre-house fray. Oh God, yes. This one is 1177. So again, these are massive books, but well worth the read. Well worth the time it takes to read them. That's 1060, and they just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and this says 1110. It seems that yeah, okay, so there we go. 5 great books. A Game of Thrones, not Game, A Song of Ice and Fire by George R.R. Martin. It starts with the Game of Thrones. Check them out if you have time. And finally, if you don't know what number 1 is, you should. And don't start with that one. We're gonna start with The Hobbit by J.R.R. Tolkien. And yeah, I'm smiling because I'm remembering Tolkien now from South Park. And anyway, yeah, this was an amazing book. I watched the Rankin Bass Hobbit in 3rd grade, so I had to have been 8 years old, and I'm like, Mom, this is awesome. Is there a book for it? Because I wanted to get more into the story. And oh yeah, here's a book. Have at it. And I think I stayed up really late that night. At least till 11 o'clock, you know, which for an 8-year-old kid is pretty late. There's reading. Oh, reading. And this is one of those books that I read at different parts of my life. So I moved to Japan. I reread the series again. We got The Hobbit. Boom. You got Fellowship of the Ring. You got The Two Towers. And you got Return of the King. And you also have the Silmarillion, Unfinished Tales, Children of Hurin. There's tons of books. Tons of great stuff to read. But yeah, it all started with The Hobbit. And it's the 85th anniversary this year, believe it or not. 1937, wow. But yeah, great, fantastic fantasy novel. Yeah, I read it. I couldn't get enough. I'm 8, 9 years old. In 4th grade now, reading, you know, Lord of the Rings, which is this massive series. And then I had to read it in 6th grade, and I didn't want to. It was like, I already read it, and you're telling me what to read, and don't tell me what to do. Because I always believe that if you want to do something and you have to do something, that's urgency. You'll read that first. If you want to read it but don't have to, that's second, because there's no urgency, but there's the desire. If you have to read it and you don't want to read it, then it's probably a textbook and probably boring, and you're de-incentivized and it will take longer to read. And then there's the you don't have to read it and you don't want to read it, you're not going to read it at all level. So you know, I've always thought that there were those 4 categories, and I think it goes for anything actually. But anyway, we're talking about The Hobbit. It's freaking awesome. Read it. I read it when I moved to Japan. I read it again before the movie came out, or right after the movie. And I actually found it difficult because the prose, we're just not used to the prose in today's language. But, you know, as I got through the book, I became more acclimated to the style of writing, and then it started zipping along, and, you know, I fell in love with it again. So, sounds like my Super Metroid video. But anyway, so, yep, there's The Hobbit, and then you get into, like, the fantastic tale of Lord of the Rings, Fellowship of the Ring. Freaking amazing. Again, another long book, but not nearly as long. This says only 500 pages. It's got maps. I mean, No, the second book is 500 pages, isn't it? Or are they combining the two? I don't know. Anyway, yeah, technically it's 6 books across 3 volumes here. And yeah, but just fantastic. So much imagination. Gandalf. What else? The Black Riders, Nazgul. Of course, the Hobbit has Smaug the dragon. And you know, this all-seeing eye, Sauron. You're like, oh my God, how is this gonna happen? Orcs, fantastic. Elves, just freaking love it. High fantasy is freaking amazing. Lord of the Rings is, in my opinion, the greatest book of all time. Not including the Bible, the good book, but and not to get preachy, but I don't think a lot of people have read that or understand what's actually written in the Bible. But as far as non-religious material goes, Lord of the Rings is the best series, best book of all time. Tolkien is the greatest writer of all time. The Silmarillion is really difficult to read, but I read it. It talks about the beginnings of Aule and the creation of Middle Earth and everything, and then the awakening of the elves, and how the dwarves were sort of there, but they weren't meant to be first, so they were put into kind of stasis, and until the elves were there, and then the dwarves came, fought, and then humans came in the Second Age, I believe, after everything with, not Glauron, but Morgoth, Melkor. I think Melkor became Morgoth, or was it the other way around? So it's so confusing. And you know, he even fleshed it out himself with the Lays of Beleriand and Children of Hurin, which I think is the same story but told a different way, possibly an easier way. There's also a video on YouTube you can find on which order to read the books in. And I think it was Hobbit first, and then Lord of the Rings, and then Children of Hurin, before the Silmarillion. An Unfinished Tale, something like that. But yeah, these books are just freaking amazing. All of these books are freaking amazing. Except I can't vouch for Dune because that's the only one here I haven't read. But yeah, so those are the top 10, I think. I thought I counted 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, because the series 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay, so top 10 plus 1 books or authors, in my opinion. Let me know in the comments what you think. What are the greatest books you've ever read? Who are your favorite authors? Stuff like that. Again, I'm sure I've read more that I just can't think of right now. The 34th Rule. I think there was a fantastic Deep Space Nine novel about one of the rules of acquisition. Some of the Star Wars books have been great. Heir to the Empire, the real sequel trilogy, was in book form in 1991, I think. And yeah, so Heir to the Empire, I don't even remember what they're called, but yeah, 3-book series by Timothy Zahn, great reads. So, you know, I could go on all day about books, but the video is getting long enough already. Again, tell me what you're reading, who your favorite authors are, who your favorite books are, what your favorite books are of all time in the comments. And until next time, keep reading and have a good one.